My neighborhood is full of grey buildings and department stores. In place of the shopping malls, there once were many small shops. In the street where I lived, there was a pastry, a grocery store, a watchmaker's, and then there was hair, yellow, green and blue, with red windows, small and squeezed between two big banks. Hair, the children bookshop. The bookshop was near my school, and before going home, I often used to visit it. The library was full of paper, voices, stories. The books inside were all different, just like us. They were big, small, colorful, large, thin, soft. Quick, let's hide! Bruno used to say to me and Julia, trying to stay a bit more in the bookshop. Behind the counter, there was a lady who wore a fluffy enveloping scarf. She was used to having us always around. Gaia, the librarian, hardly ever left the store. The most she would do was to come out of the counter and climb the crooked staircase to grab a book and read something to us. Gaia was a funny bookseller. She seemed to have tentacles in place of arms. She used to take books, puppets, telephone, receipts and everything all at once. In place of a pair of hands, she seems to have two suckers. She always managed to grab even the most hidden and secret books. Whenever she started reading, she used to change completely. She took off her scarf, she turned off the main lights, and switched on a colored light. Her fingers turned into claws, able to pull the characters out of the pages. Her eyes turned into headlights that lit up and turned off each time she turned the page. Her tongue turned into a big pencil, so that when she spoke she drew with her voice all the scenes of the book she was reading to us. Sometimes she used puppets to tell stories. During the reading groups, her hair turned into a bush tangled up in words. If there were too many people around, two locomotives steamed out of her ears. Too many customers to serve. Her nose used to turn into a red button every time her boyfriend Mario entered the bookshop. When Gaia was reading, her legs always changed into two roots firmly planted on the ground, and her feet began to sprout and grow into travels and adventures. We would often change too, becoming part of the story. One day, the bookseller's scarf has become a flying carpet for the grand finale. The parents applauded as she closed the book, tying the scarf around her neck. When she turned off the light of the reading area, we understood it was time to go home. Come back soon! A new story is already awaiting you! Our neighborhood one day started to become darker. I guess our lampposts have stopped working, I initially thought. Suddenly, the streets have become dirtier and gloomy. People have started to prefer to visit the shopping malls, and the windows of the small stores in the area started to empty out. Gaia the librarian hardly ever left the store, yet one day she wasn't there anymore. How can it be? Where are the books? We asked ourselves the day our favorite bookseller disappeared. A week later, we found a new phosphorescent sign on the store window. The bookshop had become an arcade. No sign of Gaia. And while we were still watching that new sign in shock, a big, bad and bald guy came out, unrolling a greasy, wrinkled roll of cash. "Excuse me, do you happen to know where Gaia the librarian is?" Bruno kindly asked.
Oh no, not her again. It is the 100th time since morning that someone asks for her. People always care when it's too late.
"Why? What happened? What have you done to her?" Julia shouted angrily. "Calm down, little girl. It is not my fault if Gaia is a failure and is fed up with fairy tales and little brats. She left the shop and now I have taken over. It's all legal. I told her she could stay and work behind the counter, but she has packed up the whole kit and caboodle and has gone home with her boyfriend. Rest easy though, at least he's got a job. Anyway, here it is full of video games. Why don't you take a look?" Actually, looking inside the place, all you could see was a bunch of people with vacant, bloodshot eyes, people that greedily kept putting money inside machines that were promising big cash winnings. I walked away, worried we could get sucked into the vortex of those one-armed bandits. Sad days followed without Gaia the librarian, and above all, with no readings. What now? We tried to buy something to read in a supermarket, but there wasn't much choice. Or better said, at first glance from afar, the amount of books seemed huge, but at a closer look, we realized that they all looked embarrassingly similar. Rats and pigs were winking at us on dozens of books. They all looked the same to us. When we tried to ask for a different book, they told us to ask at the counter, where there was an endless queue. No one had time for us. What happened to Gaia the librarian? We missed her. We missed her stories. We missed our stories, and we missed that magic place where there was a space for us, ready to welcome us away from the hustle and the shopping carts. We tried to ask for her in the public library, and they sent us to some booksellers friend of her. We discovered other magical places, however far away. Those booksellers were all different. Some of them loved silence and silent reading. Others spent their days talking with customers, and again others preferred to listen. What happened to Gaia the bookseller? The same thing that will happen to us if people keep reading on screens and buying books found in the supermarkets near the lentils. Gaia's friends were not influenced by the brand of the book, the author's fame, or the sponsors behind them. That's why you could always get from them even the most sought after and rare books. Each of them made every effort to offer us different reading choices. They cultivated stories the same way they would cultivate a garden, with gorgeous and rare plants, all different from one another. It was just outside the school, a few weeks later, we heard the car horn and a megaphone behind us. Here-hee! Here-hee! Here comes Biblioli Bro, the traveling storyteller! Come on! Come on! The voice was unmistakable. It was her, Gaia the Librarian, on a three-wheeled bookshop. In the trunk we found our stories again, our books and our puppets. Hello kids, how is it going? See, I had to find another way to tell stories. Running the shop was too expensive. I had to pack up, put my stories in some boxes and load them into Mario's van. Then I came up with this idea. Turn my three-wheeled car into a traveling bookshop. I didn't want to stay at home. I missed you. Some of Gaia's friends had to close their shops because the store's rent was too expensive and had started to sell stories on the street. There is a word we cherish, bibliodiversity. We do our best to make sure people can get different books from us. That is why we buy just a few copies of each title, so we can propose different reading suggestions. But people prefer to chase the discounts, buy books where they are cheaper, in places where they are sold in bulk, on shelves with no bookseller around, where choices are dictated by passive fads. This is putting a strain on us and on all the people who are brave enough to create new different books. The mechanisms has jumped, and here we are on the street without our shops. The opportunities to learn and grow offered to the readers are suffering a crisis. In a world where books are all the same, we are running the risk of becoming dull. We are running the risk of giving up what is most important, the ability to look at the world from a different perspective in an atmosphere of mutual respect in order to find the right key to happiness in life. That's why we have decided to remain independent in our choice of books, even if it means going out on the streets, driving a van. The streets began to get crowded with stories, voices, rustling paper, in spite of the traffic lights and signs. The traffic got jammed, driving the traffic wardens to despair. What now? The booksellers were forced to leave, but people rebelled. It's time to close the arcades. Enough with these video games. We want our bookshops back. We want our booksellers and our choice of books. Then Gaia took the megaphone.
Thank you for your moral support, but there is only one way to get your bookshops back. Adopt them and do not abandon them.
There was a round of applause. A month later, we found the arcade closed.
This isn't over, you bunch of scoundrels. Sooner or later we will meet again,
shouted Mr. Moneymaker while vanishing into his van with his pockets full of holes. Who's a failure now? I hope your wife has got a job, Gaia the bookseller shouted, amused. Few months have passed since that day, but Bibliolibro is still waiting for us at the school gates. When you least expect it, you can see it coming out of the corner of a street. Bibliolibro's upper car, like Gaia, is able to turn into something else. In place of the headlights, 2 ears appear. In place of the car trunk, a trunk full of books opens. And in place of the window appears a proscenium from which a group of puppets emerge. Who's on stage? And another story begins. After a while, a window is still closed, or almost open. It's a matter of time now. We have decided to adopt Gaia's bookshop. During the week, we are all here, grandparents, parents, and neighbors. We help cleaning up this place and putting up the shelves. Julia, Bruno, and I will create here our birthday wish list, and the same will do our teachers and our schoolmates. In this way, we will support the bookstore and make sure it doesn't close down again. We also decided to always leave an open suitcase at the entrance. It is the Suspended Stories corner. It will be filled with books that can be donated to the children in need. Dad says that they do something similar with coffee in the bars of Naples. The new bookshop is almost ready. Mario the handyman is now preparing the space and putting the chairs in a circle. This year, we will be able to join those school reading groups. We will read the same book and then talk about it. Everyone will see something different, and it will be good to compare our ideas. Gaia's books have the power to change us. In place of our eyes, we get 2 kaleidoscopes, and in place of our mouth, a long carpet of words that rises and lifts us up, making us all travel together between the lines in search of new words. If walls had a soul, they would tell all the stories stored in these rooms, and also those that cannot fit in, but that we never really lose, because they are gathered and saved by those street poets who never give up, the itinerant booksellers.